Good morning, everyone. I'm back in your feed. We've got a special little addition to the Sanctuary Hub chats. I'm going to be chatting with my good friend and longtime collaborator, Julie Asselin. And so she will be joining us shortly. And we're going to be chatting about Sanctuary again this time. And I'm very excited to chat with her. Julie is a yarn boss and dyer who runs a company out of Quebec with her husband, and she is also the person who helps to import the majority of the major indie publishing titles in the yarn industry, which makes it way easier for small businesses to be able to carry stock or to restock because instead of needing to worry about, dealing with customs and all that, then she does it and does it on a big scale, and then we can just grab whatever amounts we need. So it's really incredible, a little bit unique in the industry. There's very few folks doing what she does, and as a Canadian small business owner, it makes me very grateful. And so, hi, okay. And Willow's gonna have some feels about the fact that we are doing these again. um, so once Julie is able to join, then we will get started, and hopefully Instagram decides to play nicely with us. Really. All right, let's see. Hey, salut, ma belle.
Bonjour. Nice to be spending time with you.
Nice to spend time with you too. How was your vacation?
Oh, it was great. We did nothing. We we uh, we stayed home and I gardened a lot. We slept and we like to go hikes with the dogs and stuff like that. So I mean it wasn't we didn't do much really. We saw friends and things like that, but it was just really chill.
Perfect. I feel like is actually like I find it exponentially harder to take a vacation without traveling. Like travel is basically the way that I turn my brain off. At least for well, usually I end up like making travel into a work thing anyway. I'm like, let's go visit farms, but uh, it's like to be able to stay home and trust that your team will handle everything and not check emails or just like pop in to make sure that everything's running smoothly. Like that is a skill set that takes I think a while to get as a business owner. I'm sorry, Willow is like
Well, well, I will say, Willow's there with you, and I want to say not at the moment, but there's probably some of the dogs that will want to join us at some point. So, as far as summer break goes, I will say, like all of us take a summer break. So
okay.
the business is closed for almost 3 weeks. But people are well aware. I mean, all the emails have gone out, and the automatic response is on. And if there's really something urgent, I mean, I'll take care of it. But I can, with practice. I mean, I've been able to, I can still, let's say, like once a week, just make sure everything's okay and kind of leave it at that. So yeah.
That's amazing. And it's also really nice. Like I mean, I've loved watching your business grow, and like as you've added new things to the business over the years, was just really epic. Uh, and like seeing your team grow as well over the years. Like, did you ever expect that the business would be at where it's at now when you started?
I didn't have, it's kind of funny because I don't, I, so the thought that came to my mind is almost like I don't like saying that, but what I wanted to say was when I started, I started dyeing yarn because I was curious about it. And then I ended up giving some to friends, and then I had too many, and then some stores wanted to buy it. And I didn't have a plan But I am very, very grateful that it grew to what it is, and how, now there's like 5 to 6 of us working, working together, and, being able to, have our own schedule. And, because the way that the business is set up is, everybody works together. Things
Mhm.
need to be done at the end of the week, but you make your own schedule.
Amazing.
I just saw a comment.
Yeah.
Avez-vous des mots en français? Bonjour, Luce. Je vais juste dire que, dans le fond, l'entrevue aujourd'hui est en anglais, puisque Ash parle principalement anglais. Mais si tu as une question, on va répondre, il n'y a pas de problème. Et aussi, sur notre chaîne, nos vidéos sont bilingues, mais bien sûr, en ce moment, c'est ça, dans le fond, la langue principale de Ash, c'est l'anglais. Also, I will just say, hey, Patrina! Susie, and I saw Cathy, and I saw also Pierre-Alexandre. There's a bunch of people that I've met before. So, and if I don't say your name, it's just because I didn't see you come up. But if I know you, I know you. Hey, Atelier Clich, ouais. So, Matt, salut, Matt. Dana, okay. So, no, how's your French?
My French, I understand everything that you say when you're speaking in French, and I can read French, no problem. My own French is just super rusty, and I'm expecting when we get to twist that my brain is just going to get stuck all the time because my vocabulary is so rusty, but I understand what people are saying, then I'm translating
Yeah.
slowly my answers in French in my head. And I find often that people will then just automatically switch to English because I'm taking a moment to respond. And then my brain gets really stuck.
I think people are going to help you. I mean, at Twist, people are going to help you.
Yes.
And I'm guessing, like, I mean, I don't know what you've prepared, but maybe, like, cards with, like,
Yes. All
pointers and things that you need to remember. So
yeah, all our stuff is going to be translated. We'll have both English and French for all of the signage and everything. And one of our booth mates, like I like my technically I'm bilingual. My French is going to be pretty rusty. I feel like by Sunday it'll be better. By the end
it's
of
going to be great. You'll get to practice it.
And then Kalia doesn't speak French, but our booth mate, Caroline, who's coming with us, is a francophone. So she'll, like, anybody who's like really doesn't want to speak in English and or doesn't
Yeah.
translating things poorly in my brain can speak.
Fine. We're going to have a great time.
I'm excited. So what? Tell us about because I want to dig into this before going. With these chats, they've often gone like 40 minutes, and then we get into doing the chat about Sanctuary. Oh, I want to learn French, and at one point I had started using a Duolingo app. You know what? I actually hate Duolingo. I've been trying to learn Polish and Gaelic through it, and I find that for my brain, it's useful in terms of like kind of like practicing, I find. But I work really well with understanding like sentence structure and grammatical rules and like knowing advance. So I find that for learning a language, Duolingo does not train my brain in a way, but it is useful for like once I have the basics of a language to be able to understand shit. But I think I'm gonna have to like find a Polish to teach me more swear words.
Well, you're going to be I mean, you find what works for you. So
so do you have helps? I got
you
burgers.
yeah,
Honestly,
just not the same as I did.
I honestly like it. Immersion programs are the things that teach me the best. And then once I have the basics of the language down, then I listen to podcasts. I'll read kids' books. I actually find that like when you're learning a new language, reading kids' books is a really awesome way of
Yeah.
getting down and then like slowly kind of like working your way up through. And then yeah, just like watching like finding that language's titles on things like Netflix or whatever, and then watching with the language's subtitles turned on. So like if I watch a French show, I'll watch it in French and have French subtitles so that whatever dialect of French they're speaking, then it's like I'm not having my brain shift back out of it. Like if I were to listen to a French show but watch English, then the English would absolutely take over. So those are my
Good for
recommendations.
your brain to learn a new language also.
Yes, yeah, and then just like be comfortable making mistakes. I think that's probably the hardest thing. Is just
Yeah,
like
it's when you talk with somebody and then I don't know, like I think our just being human, like we don't. I think we're afraid of mistakes. So
yes. I mean I will say that like I find it really funny when I like go and order things in French because I like when I go to the French area of town, which is like we have the largest French community here um, in Manitoba outside of Quebec. And it's a very different kind of French, but it's like, close enough that I have no problem understanding Quebecois slang. Um, but my friends who have trained in like Parisian French as their like primary thing, they have no idea what's happening, which is hilarious. But when I go like as long as my grammar is solid enough, then people will continue like letting me act as though my accent isn't that big of a deal. But as soon as I fuck up the grammar, they're like, "No, okay, we're switching to English."
accents is fine. I mean, I have an accent when I speak English. I mean, you know the. I mean, either with Quebecois or then Parisian French or any languages that you speak. I mean, if you have a strong accent, you're just trying to communicate with somebody else, and if that person doesn't want to understand you, I think it doesn't have to do with your accent. It has to do with how that person,
Is as a human.
what the word in English would be, but I mean, hey, so just made an appearance.
Oh my god, so cute.
Eddie, you want to say hi to your friend Willow?
Willow is currently on the floor giving me not the out face. Her face is like fully turned away from me, and she's giving me her back.
I was looking on Ravelry, and I was trying to think. I was curious when we started working, when we
I
got
think back in 2014 or 2015.
so my in my head it was 2014.
Yeah.
And then when I looked on Ravelry, so is overtoe the first pattern that you did in our yarns or no?
I no. I no, you know what?
There was a book before that, no?
There was so Flotsam and Jetsam had multiple patterns, and then Amarisu, the first pattern that I designed for them, Reflect, was done with your yarn. But we'd already done a couple of collabs by the time that we did that one.
I thought it was 2014. It's going to be almost 10 years.
Oh my god! That's
Yeah. We've known each other almost as long as I've been dyeing yarn because I started in 2011. So
amazing. And like I mean, I always have loved working with you because you have from the get-go always been so generous. And I find like which I do understand, but like, as businesses grow, then it can be tricky to maintain the same kinds of relationships, even though like
yeah.
you often want to, but especially when relationships don't start off as like you were friends to begin with, and so then it's like easier even as things are growing. That it like, yeah, I don't know. I just
It's like it's
like
go
never,
ahead.
sorry, like there's never been a point where I've contacted you and been like, I have this idea, and you've said no. Like you're like, great, what do you need?
I,
I'm like, I sneaky buy from you sometimes because if I even suggest something, you're like, great, here you go. Sending you some.
I really want to I want to support anybody that wants to design, and I want people to succeed. And it's funny that you mentioned that because one of the things that I think about often, and I think it comes from me being like I don't know, anxious is not the word, but it's just that I care a lot about basically everyone, like all the people. I care about everyone. And then so like the minute that I meet somebody is like you know, I care about you. So it's something that I've been thinking about, where, you know, like I basically every day want to tell people like, hey, just so you know, if I haven't written to you today, or, you know, if you think that, you know, like I am not thinking about you, well, you know, I am, because the whole world is awesome. I don't know how to explain, but it's like that's something that I think about often, where it's like I don't um I know how important it is to feel supported, and to feel the word is not matter, but connected, I guess. I don't know. I know what it does. You know, when you write to somebody and you say, I was thinking of you, I hope you have a good day. You know what it does? It, you know, it's like the best boost that you can get in your day. And it's basically like, I want to tell everybody every day, like, you know, you got this. So I'm putting this out there. If ever anybody forgets, it's here, and you can refer to it, and just know that I'm rooting for you, whatever you're doing.
Love that so much about you though, because I find like, and especially, you know, in recent years as the industry has gotten bigger, there's more folks in it. It is also like, you know, the world has become isolated, fractured. Like there's so much that's always going on. And like what I've always admired so much about you and the way that you've just been running your business is that you have never, at least like, oh, you know, publicly, I'm sure that like there's moments that we all have of like, ah shit, but like where you're always community over competition, and it's not like a lip service thing. Like you truly are always invested in community and supporting community. Your brand is very like positive and love filled, but not in like a weird toxic way where you also pretend that shit isn't happening.
I want to say thank you very much, because it means a lot, because, you know, this is how we feel collectively, not just me, like everyone. And this is what, like, this is my main, this is what I want to put out there. I want to put out there love, and I want to put out there peace, you know, and just like understanding and getting together. And it means a lot for you to say that, because this is what we've been aiming to do. And, you know, on that subject, you know, when you say that, what, you know, what, when I think about you, what I like is that you're always so, I don't know what the word would be, but what, you know, it's like, you know, when you communicate, you're very caring. And this is a big part of community. And I don't know, you make me feel good. So that's a good thing, right? Yeah. So I don't know exactly in English how to express that, but there is definitely something, I have the same feeling toward you. Basically, I feel the same thing. Thank you so much for taking the time to say that. You know, you were mentioning earlier, it's funny because I think it has to do with, you know, the subject that we wanted to discuss today. We were talking about sanctuary and what it means to me. And, you know, you said we are, like you said, the world is getting, you know, it's big, and we're fractured. I find it funny because we are fractured. And then also it's like, we are also almost like too much connected with, so
Yeah.
they kind of go together.
Yeah.
And I think it has to do with being able to reach out or communicate with people in, and not being thoughtful about it. I don't know how to,
Yes.
I don't know how to explain. It's almost like we're using the extra connectivity that we have. I don't want to say in a wrong way, but almost. I don't know. I think it changes us. I think it changes how we behave with each other.
Yes.
In a couple of years, I think things are going to be very different, because people learn like social behavior through social media.
Yes.
Um, weirdly, even though it connects us, and you can definitely make real friends online, that you've never met. Uh, I also think that it prevents us from being connected on a deeper level. Like when things get, um, I was going to say difficult, but like when you, like deeper conversation, when you have like different opinions on things, or when you just want to share how you feel. And I think that social media makes it so that you're not sure like how you're supposed to feel or what you're supposed to say. Or I don't know if I'm saying this correctly,
No,
but
it's totally making sense, and I agree fully with you. Like I think with social media, I mean, the way that our feeds are set up, like your nervous system is completely fucked, really. Like you're getting in the same news feed without any separation. The algorithm is deciding what you may or may not see. B, it's mixing everything up. So depending on what you follow, you're seeing news, you're seeing businesses marketing their stuff, you're seeing your friends giving updates, you're seeing activists maybe that you follow posting about horrific things that are happening places. You're seeing politicians posting about stuff that may be like small local scale, might be big scale, and like there's no organization of it. Like I think even in terms of the way that news is presented, when you're watching the news on TV, even though, yeah, you're being like impacted by all of these images, it's at least organized. So, okay, I don't want to know what is like, I don't have the bandwidth to hear what's happening at the top of the hour. So I'm going to tune in for the last 15 minutes to like hear what's happening on the local, like happy scale, because I always stick the like happy, nice local stories at the end of the hour. But on your news feed on your apps, there's no control over any of that. And I think the other thing about um, about just like how much we're inundated with it. It reminds me of when I lived in London, and I went from being in Halifax, where like it's Maritimers to begin with, so like we're always smiling at each other. It is still the one place where when I land and I'm home, I am smiling at strangers in the street and not feeling freaked out about it. Like I don't do that anywhere else. It's an automatic thing that it's like, oh, I'm home in the Maritimes. Okay, we're good. But from that to living in London and the UK. And I literally realized within the first week of living there, by the time I get from my flat to the bus stop, I have encountered enough humans that my bandwidth for the day is now over, and it's been 15 minutes. And it's just that thing of like, there's so much around you and so much activity and so much stimuli coming at us that like your capacity to be nice to each other shrinks dramatically, because there's only so much energy that we have to connect that deeply on that level in a way where we can like actually be kind to one another. And I don't think that that's necessarily a good thing. I do think that part of that is also just, once you're around that many people who have that many walls up themselves, then it's just natural you're going to build up your own walls. Whereas in Halifax, it's like, it's not like I'm not seeing loads of people. It's just that we don't have those same kind of walls up. Um, but I feel like social media is kind of like that,
yeah.
especially where the feeds have all become all video images, which is like, okay, A, I didn't ask for this moving stimuli. B, I don't want all of this sound. Stop putting sound on when I have it muted for a reason. And then, like, it's also really not accessible, because if you have poor Wi-Fi connection, which honestly the majority of the world has shitty enough Wi-Fi connection, regardless of what country we're talking about. Like the amount of Canadians that are like, I can't load my feed, and I'm like, I understand. If I was living, where you are, which is just outside of a major city, I also wouldn't be able to load my feed. And as is, my feed loads slower in the cities. So like, it's not, I don't think it's helpful. I am waiting for Instagram to stop pretending it's TikTok. But in the meantime, like, I do think that it's becoming even harder for people to comfortably digest what is coming at them through social media, which then as small businesses, we're like, okay, now how do we talk to people besides, hoping that they sign up for newsletters.
And this is how we set up our feed.
Yeah.
And it's like you through through everything that we do. And then again, we weren't going to go, it wasn't in the, the way that we were going to go with the word sanctuary. But I can also think about, I've had many people telling me that, they like the way that we do social media. And I'm just talking for me, right? I'm not talking for other people. Is when I personally go on social media, I have a hard time with it. And, there's many things that we could say. There are so many scary, hurtful things that are happening, that makes you, that makes you want to stay home and, be scared of one another. And as you said, it's too many stimuli, and this is how I feel about it. And if I say it, I guess, I'm going to say it like that because it's true. Like for me, social media is basically a dangerous place to be. Um, even though I like seeing like what other like friends' businesses are doing, I like to see how people are inspired by things in the fiber industry, checking up on friends, but I am very interested in, human beings, our planet, and, how we interact with each other. And it's just when the way that I build our social media is, when you come on my page, it's just, I think about, how could I explain that? It's just, I don't want you to be surprised by something that you didn't ask for.
Yeah, yeah.
And this is where my brain always starts, because I am this way. And I don't, sometimes, and it's okay, like if you want to express pain or something that you're going through, everybody can do that. It's just that I am trying to be aware that, anything that I could share or do might bring up something for somebody else. And I am, it's not in the sense that I am avoiding anything. It's in the sense that I know that these things are very real. So, yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, I hope this, how my brain works. I feel like there's so many ideas crossing each other at the same time, but I hope, I feel like I say that all the time when I talk. Is this clear? So, yeah.
Well, and I think, when you're speaking in other languages too, then it's like, am I articulating what I'm in my brain? But I absolutely, I think that you are, and I agree with what you're saying.
So then, it comes when we say sanctuary, I feel like it's very connected, because, and I don't know, I'm just thinking like saying that my feed is a sanctuary. It's like, I find it like weird and almost like a little pompous, but I don't mean it this way. I just mean it like I am really careful as to everybody's well-being, and this is just how I try to navigate it. And
Yeah.
like me, and that social media causes you anxiety, then this is the place to be, I guess.
Yeah.
Because we are like-minded. So.
Well, and I would that you do, because you are very intentional with how, like, you choose to post things and how you share about, like, your values are still very clear without going into like dysregulated, here I'm gonna like, which, like, I've personally, sometimes I do it well, other times I do a shit job of it. I have learned years, and thank goodness for therapy too, but also just through experience, like, when I'm feeling particularly activated about something, that's usually like, social media is generally the last thing I should be doing then, or reaching for, when I am that activated about something. And it's, I need to like take a breath, make sure that I've like had some water, slept properly, eaten properly, made sure that my nervous system is balanced, so that then I can be, if I'm on social media or with other humans, that I'm able to be doing it from a healthy place so that then whatever I am saying is from, like, my emotions are still very valid, or whatever is happening is valid. Things aren't don't need to be like rosy and perfect, but if we're coming at something from a dysregulated place, we're more likely to be causing harm.
Yeah.
And there are ways, I think this is, part of the way that culture has become very like black and white binary thinking, where it's like either you are addressing issues and everything is shit, or you are ignoring everything and everything is like love and light toxic positivity. And I'm like, no, no, no.
And
There's actually like really great
like
where we,
coming at it from a yeah, I definitely like how you explained it. And I I don't know if I want to go in this territory, but I was going to say using social media, especially Instagram for our business, I feel at time has caused me to be dysregulated, and I step away
yeah,
because I know what it does. I know what it does to me, and I know what it does to other people. And I know that it's not easy. I know that it doesn't always happen. It's okay if it does. It's okay. It, you learn also through experiences like that. Um, it comes back to kindness, and also it's hard. It takes time. It takes time to think about something and to truly know like what it does to you and what you're projecting out there. And with things needing to go fast, uh,
yeah,
just doesn't it doesn't allow that.
yeah, yeah. I think like, I mean,
Mhm.
I hope that for the most part I have learned over the years at least that uh, knee jerk reactions to most things on Instagram or on social media generally,
Or
like
anywhere else.
anywhere else, is usually like, not unless it's truly an emergency situation where not only is it A, it's an emergency, but B, your immediate actions are going to positively impact that emergency, right? Like, it's one thing if you're like, okay, I'm gonna like share to my stories that there's a, Amber Alert for a missing child. Like, that's a thing where like, please do share that immediately. Or like somebody, like whatever, like those are situations where it's like, this is immediately helpful. But for other stuff, there's very little that like you posting immediately versus taking an hour to like stop, do some research, double check facts and things, and then like, eat some food, drink some water, make sure that you're like balanced in, so that then when you're able to post resources, when you're able to share, content or whatever, that it's actually helpful.
Yeah.
Whether, and I don't want to be like, I don't want anybody to feel like we're tone policing. Like your feelings are always valid. Obviously, we are, our feelings are valid, our emotions are valid, and we're also responsible for our actions. Like, as an anxious creature, my anxiety is a valid part of my existence. I'm still responsible if I call somebody an asshole because I'm feeling anxious and like not dealing well with whatever they're telling me. Like, I'm allowed to feel anxious and activated about something. And also, I'm still responsible for how I respond to the world when I am in that state.
You made me think of something, and I don't know if maybe this is what you're trying to express, and this is what I've been thinking about. When I say um like thinking and not responding or whatever, it has nothing to do with the tone, because tone can be whatever it is. I mean, you're feeling what you're feeling, and there's no judgment in that. um I was thinking that, when I say take time, uh it applies, to you, as a person, and how it makes you feel. So it's like, I don't know how to say, but
Oh, oh, you're buffering. Where? see. Oh no. See, and we're both in like cities, so this is where the internet is a problem. Oh no. All right, folks, we're going to. Okay, so Julie is going to try and rejoin us. See, this is why video content, though, is a problem at times because it requires just so much bandwidth that even when you're in like large urban spaces, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to have decent internet to be able to consume stuff or to engage with stuff. So we're going to see if Julie is able to rejoin us. And then if not, then we'll end this live, post it, and then start a new live and we'll have part two. But we're just going to wait and see if she can get her internet going. In the meantime, if... Aha! Yep. Dun, dun, dun. Da, 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 da. It's... Yay, you're back.
No, what happened is I got like a video call and I refused it.
Yes.
I refused it, but it stopped the. I didn't know that it would do that. So, so yeah, no. So when, yeah, it's yes. I guess what we were saying is complete. It's yeah, living together as human beings is a complicated thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know because I just like you know how my brain works, how like a thought is going to cross my mind like a star, or I don't know, like and
Yes.
you know, we were talking about tone and you know, being dysregulated and how it applies to us, and you know, let yourself and other people have their feelings. The thought that crossed my mind also is, I think, why, you know, we are collectively so what would be the word, protective, I think, of like our tone, in the sense, when I say protective, I mean like, you know, when we say like, don't tell me that I can talk like that, is because it just crossed my mind that it's because most of the time we are used to not being able to express our feelings,
Yeah.
and we just don't let each other express our feelings. You know, it doesn't matter that somebody's mad, you know, it's okay that you're mad. And I think this is how we respond to it, that makes us so attached
Yes.
to our anger, or to our, you know, our feelings that we want to be valid. They are, you know, they are.
Yeah.
So so I does it make, yeah, again, I'm going to say that, does it make sense?
Yeah. Absolutely, it does. It completely, yeah, just, yeah, it makes sense. And it makes me think of like, I mean, I perpetually have more hope for the younger generation than for, I'm like, that's the Sagittarius in me. I'm just like, I'm going to have hope for the future. I don't necessarily believe that, you know, we're going to figure our shit out. I hope that, you know, each of us continues growing, obviously, regardless of our age. But like, I have way more faith in the younger generations and in kids than I necessarily do in adults. But, you know, the way that a lot of folks are now, you know, teaching their children about like feelings charts and feelings wheels, and that, you know, all of their different emotions are valid, and like making space for those emotions and making space for safe for them and for others expressions of those emotions. Like, you can be angry, like there are a lot of things that are worth being angry about. You can be frustrated, you can, you know, be all of these things, and having the language to be able to articulate those things is helpful, and also having safe space around you, both like physically, of course, but then also emotionally. Like it is, I think often in like close personal relationships, a lot of conflict can come from when people take that for granted, where they just assume that because somebody has whatever close relationship with them that they are there to, you know, kind of be like word vomited on no matter what. Like there are still boundaries. And also the lovely thing about those close relationships is that we can learn how to be, you know, expressing those things safely and to feel like we can express ourselves even when we are hurt, even when we are scared, that there are people who will hold space for that. And you know, having more people being able to do that for us so that then we can learn how to do that well ourselves and do that healthily ourselves then gives us practice so that then we can do it on a wider scale and with more people, and to be able to also like, you know, I talked to my therapist about it because of course my therapist has to hold space for lots of people where it's like, you know, it's her job to hold space and also she needs to protect her own energy, and
Mm.
there's constant learning of where are your boundaries based on your energy levels, based on the relationship that you have, based on, you know, how the other person is responding. Like you can have lots of love and compassion in your heart for somebody and also not need to enable shitty behavior if they are, you know, dysregulated in a way that's like harmful. So like we can hold these things in it, like in the same moment. They can both be true at the same time.
And it just reminded me, you know, also, yes. And I don't know, it just made me think of, you know, sometimes you're going to call a friend and like you're sad or there's something happening that you don't understand and you kind of want to work it out, I guess. Um, there's also this part where I feel that, you know, the, what's the word in English? There's a lot of counsel, uh, conseil.
Like unpaid labor.
No, but, well, yeah. Well, no. So, okay. So there's it's kind of funny because it has to do with that. You know that. So there's a lot of material that we consume today about, you know, feeling better and well, psychology, I guess. Um, you know that, you know, that tells us that like what I want to say, I guess, is it because it's gonna sound too simple, but I mean, it basically tells you that like when your friend is talking to you, you know, their problem is an inconvenience to you. I don't know how to say. I don't. Do you know what I'm?
It's like we don't. Yeah, there is that thing of like there's boundaries in terms of like, you know, if you actually are tapped out, that like letting people know that you're tapped out because you can't hold that good space for them, but also like our friendships are like I think should want ideally like if we love these people to want to like listen to them and help them, and even if we don't have like something helpful to say in response, like we don't need to fix things. Sometimes people just need to like say
So,
something heard.
so you know, it comes back to being disconnected from one another, and then, you know, so I will not, so labor, you
Yeah.
know, like just, you know, saying like, okay, this is not my problem, and like, you know, I'm not, but it is in a way, you know,
Yeah.
because we are connected as friends, and then, you know, you're you know, a friend is somebody that goes through life together with you, and you can learn through each other. So I guess it's just mostly that I think sometimes, you know, we are misled with because there's, yeah, I'm not saying, like, I'm not talking generally, I'm just talking some, you know, sometimes there are things that you could read, you know, like you read something and it feels so this is not a, whatever I say is never like a general thing, it's never like a,
Across the board rule.
no, but what I want to say is you know, when you read something that makes you feel good,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that it's good for you.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. Like
So you're gonna read, like you're gonna read you know, I'm just making stuff up, but like don't let your friend take your precious time. It's really silly, okay? But
Oh, I completely understand what you're saying.
you should. Yeah,
Yes.
like you should. And even maybe strangers. Like sometimes, bonds happen. And I am also, in terms of sanctuary, there's this thing also that I really like, and I'm sure you've experienced it in life when, like, it's not necessarily somebody that you know, and then you get like this really strong connection because that person shared something with you or you shared something with them.
Yes.
And they know something about you that other people don't necessarily know, and you don't, sometimes you're not close with that person, and in that moment it just felt right. And I just love those types of connections also, because I mean we are all connected and we all go through the same thing. So we're thinking we didn't go into sanctuary yet, but I think we've been in it since the beginning. So
And
yeah.
you make a really good point, and I think like ironic part of it is that you're saying like I'm not applying this as a general rule, and I think the problem with social media is that it does flatten things to being these general rules of like the example you gave, which I think we can see a lot of, especially in these like like affirmation memes and shit like that, where it's like very like short basic sentences that have no nuance, that don't like yes maybe they're applicable in certain moments, but it also like it makes me think of when we are learning a new skill, when we're learning a new emotional skill set, then like let's say that you are somebody who has historically not been good at asserting your own boundaries, and so you start learning to assert your boundaries, and so those boundaries can become quite rigid for a while because you haven't learned how to build them to begin with. And so yes, there is going to be a stage of rigidity within that, but then the like further skill is to learn how to maintain those boundaries with flexibility, so that then as different situations come up you realize, oh okay, this is where I can let this boundary drop and actually connect in this way. Oh, this is a situation where I can't let that boundary drop with maybe that specific person or that specific situation, because that like this is where I'm not going to be able to maintain whatever boundary I need to, and so we can't have the flexibility there yet because I haven't like practiced enough. And
And
I think
yeah.
and practice and learning. um, but I've like recently I've been thinking about how the vast majority of the time rigidity in anything is where we have the most problems ultimately. I think where it's like a hard line of like this is okay, this is not. Like there are absolutely there are some things where that is applicable in life, but they're few and far between when we're able to come at things from like a healthy place. And that doesn't necessarily mean that we're like not everybody has their own like things that are a problem, and so when we're interacting with one another, yes, it complicates things. So it's not as though we like live in these perfect little bubbles where just whatever we are doing is the only thing that impacts the situation. Obviously that's not the case, but the more that we are able to become like well resourced and more balanced as like a collective group, then I think the better that we're going to be able to deal with these like individual situations that can get crunchy and can get uncomfortable.
And I don't know, it made me think also. I'm not sure, I'm thinking the thought was just in my head and then I'm like, oh, I think it's gone. um what did it made me uh what you said was great. Of course it's just I don't remember. Just it made me think of something. It's not important. It's not important.
Okay.
So maybe for another conversation. But that was mostly what we wanted to talk about, right? Because the two things that I had written down was um, like sanctuary in terms of refuge and how it relates to our relationship to one another. So there's that. And like the literary sense when we say like I was telling you like the depth of something, and I think it also um touches on that. So this is it's I really like talking with you because these are, I feel these are points that we don't talk about, often, even in private conversations. So.
Totally. So with those like 2 points in mind, because we've been talking about this a lot through the lens of social media, just kind of like it became what it became. But
Mhm.
I'm curious about especially the your literary definition, and like d- tell me more about that for you.
Um, yeah, well, I feel like, sanctuary, it's basically, so when I say like the depth of something is something that's really, um, that only and this is why I mentioned like the depth of your heart or something like that. And, for yourself, I think for your well-being, for the well-being of others, also, you always need to check like your motives and
Mm,
for you. And also, and you know, is like, are you doing something and then it's not in your heart? And are you doing things that are, that are contrary to what is in your heart? So there's that. And this also, I feel like, again, like something that's kind of related to that is, I think we gain a lot more if we don't give false pretenses to other people. Um, and they know what's in their heart, and it's with them to know if what they're doing is genuine or not. And I think we need to leave that to other people. Does that? Yeah.
yes. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think I keep on like it feels like it just kind of actually
Yeah.
goes to social media again. Maybe because so much of our lives these days are like controlled by this, and also COVID has made us rely on it a lot more than before.
I
Uh,
noticed why we talk about it a lot because of COVID. We were all home and not seeing each other. So
yeah, exactly. But it totally makes me think of how, with social media, the false pretenses bit is a big one, where it's like, how do you like not play into this game of like pretending in order to like keep up appearances? I think that there's like, it's so interesting because I think that again, we end up in extreme situations where people are like trying to protect themselves by presenting a certain image, and they do that for so long, and then it gets to a point where it's a breaking point, and because they didn't allow themselves a little bit more flexibility and fluidity through that process, then the breaking point becomes very extreme. And so it goes from like everything's fine, everything's fine, everything's fine to oh shit, everything is like exploding and imploding at the same time. And I'm gonna now, like, there's no way that I can hide it. So I'm just gonna let you see the messy implosion and explosion happening. And I'm like, okay, there's like again like boundaries come into it, consent comes into it, like and like are you gonna look back on this moment in a month even and be like oh shit, maybe I didn't need to like go there with that situation, right? Like I think there's always that thing of
and everybody's messy.
yeah, and like messy is part of being human, and like that's okay. But I think that there's like we are all allowed to take a moment when things are extra messy to deal with that ourselves, and it doesn't need to go online. If you feel like it is going to be beneficial to put it online, obviously that's your prerogative. But I think that there's also a value, and we are allowed to take a moment and take a breath and and deal with shit and then come back and say, like I was dealing with this. If you want to, like you don't even need to address it realistically. You can disappear and then come back. But or never come back. Like these are all options for people. If
You
you
can also, I mean, it just made me think of, you can, and when it's okay, hold on, Julie,
organize
brain. You say address it. Um, well, I mean, you're addressing it with yourself. I don't think that, it's like, it doesn't need to be, you can deal with things at home.
yes.
Um, and yeah, it's just yeah, it comes back with this thing where now it's like, it's almost, sometimes we make the joke, oh, better take a picture of it because otherwise it's not real.
Yes.
I mean,
Like
it comes back to that. It just, I feel like it's way too simple. It's way too simple.
yeah.
And yeah, yeah, it comes back to connecting with each other and being kind and just, understanding that we're all going through
Yes.
things.
Yeah. Yeah. And that also there's like no, you know, like shitty Olympics of like I'm having a worse time than you, like that. Nobody wins
Mm.
playing that game of like let's do a race to the bottom of the drain. Like what like everybody's got shit happening in their lives. When things are amazing, that's fabulous. Let's celebrate it. When shit is not great, that's to like we're all going to have those experiences. There are certain things that no matter what happens and like what privileges or lack of privileges you have in your life, there are certain things that like you cannot avoid, right? Like you cannot avoid grief, you cannot avoid death, you cannot avoid incredible joy. Like we all have access to that in some moments, and that's I think the point of it too, right? Is that like
And this is where we connect with each other. It's like, we all have different lives.
yeah,
Um, and, to connect together through shared experience or, what we've all gone through is, this is what it means to be human, I guess. I think our conversation was really, was really deep. Love that. I love that. Um, and, yeah, yeah, it's, that's a subject that really interests me, and I know it's something that you also um in, enjoy. Seems like the wrong word, and like, I will say it again, English is not my first language, and I don't even think that you can say that French is my um is my first language either. So um yeah,
how many
whatever.
languages do you speak?
uh,
How many languages do you speak?
uh so I speak French and English, and then what happens is I also the way that I talk is I want to say closer to how my dad talks, so it's really um like a joual, like a it's not dialect, right? It's like it's just like from certain parts of Quebec, and then
Yeah.
people have a different way of talking. And then I just because I don't use it as much, but I used to I used to speak Spanish when I was in Montreal. I mean, I understand it still, and I can use it, but it's just I don't use it on a regular basis. And I actually also speak Asian Creole because Montreal Nord, and another place called Saint François, which is like right next to it. And I grew up in a mostly Asian neighborhood and environment. So from being a young kid, so this is also part of my upbringing and the languages that I use on a regular basis.
That's so cool. I think it would be a dialect. It's sort of like when I go to the Maritimes, like My family is Cape Breton and PEI primarily, and so I've always had a much easier time like with the rural dialects that you hear in the Maritimes, which are already like, they're different. And then like when I go to Newfoundland, it's chainmail. Oh, cool. Oh, that's
What does that mean?
the NOLA is New Orleans, is it not?
Yeah. And then CGOA, what's that? Okay, we'll look it up. We're
Yes.
gonna find some abbreviation. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
And
yes.
I
Yeah.
mean, a number
Mhm.
of friends that like don't, even the ones that are like from urban areas in the Maritimes who then like go out there and they don't understand the dialect. And I'm like, well, this is the way that we talk. And like when if I drink enough, then it just like fully comes out. But
Oh,
crochet
so
prints from
Prince
America.
Field of a
Oh, cool.
cool. I like crochet. I'm crocheting a blanket at the moment and a hat. I have a sweater in the making. So do you crochet, Ash?
I'm terrible at crochet. I'm very good, and I say this like without being pompous. I'm very good at most textile things. Like it's very easy for me to pick up. I cannot crochet for shit. It's so frustrating for me. I haven't managed to get the tension down, and I think part of
Mm,
that is I'm so very left-handed, and I knit as a lefty. You're having a conference. See, this is the cool things. There's
yeah.
like
We can learn about stuff. Yeah.
trying to teach myself how to crochet properly. By properly, I mean like to be able to follow a pattern without needing
Yeah.
to turn it backwards. And so I'm trying to teach myself crochet with my right hand, and I am so not right-handed that I cannot get the tension down, and it's very
There.
awkward. This is great. Um, okay, so we've been chatting for an hour, so I guess we should wrap things up.
I think we're gonna wrap it up. I'm gonna go back to work. We have things to do this afternoon.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so happy we got to do this together.
Me too. So where can people find you? Where can they buy your yarns? What else are you offering?
They can go on our website, which is julie-asselin.com. And then we mostly sell through our retailers. We work with selected shops throughout Canada and the state. And, there are some in Europe and Asia and all that. So wherever you're living, there is going to be somebody fairly close-ish or that can send you online. So, and I mean, local yarn shops for me are, community spaces. Then again, this is important to me. So this is why our this is how we've built our model. And so, yeah, so retailers. And then on our website, when a new pattern comes out, most of the time we're going to put out a little bit of yarn to go along with it. So they can find that. And also on our website, if you're looking for like odd things, or sometimes we have like one-offs from the mill, mill ends, things like that, for more affordable projects, it's on our website. So that's mostly that. And we're going to be at Twist. In August. We're going to see each other, and we travel, we go to yarn shops. So yeah.
This is delightful. What's your favorite yarn base right now?
Oh, Journey worsted.
Yeah.
I like knitting with I've always, I'm not gonna say I like big, it's not really that. I just I like the texture, I like the feel of bigger yarns. And so this is a worsted. And it's our new, it's not because it's our newest edition, it's just that it's really bouncy and light, and I just like how it feels, and it makes for like lofty, not too heavy projects with worsted. So I like that yarn.
Perfect. Thank you so much for this, my love. This has been delightful. For those of you who are just joining us, the Sanctuary Hub is basically where you can find all the behind the scenes access and other goodies as I work on my newest book, Sanctuary, which does include some of Julie's yarn, of course. I don't think that I can really do. I guess I've done a couple books now without yours, but we also just need to like do a book together at some point. That's definitely on the docket. Um, this has been super delightful. So folks can find that at ashalberg.com/sanctuary. Follow Julie here on Instagram, Julie_asselin. Go and find your closest local yarn store carrying Julie's yarns at julie-asselin.com. And then you can join us at Festival Twist in Quebec.
And
Uh,
inspired by Ash beautiful patterns, and also your I really like your all your herbal products. People
yes,
them. Your like your knitter's balm has been in all of my friends bags, and I just give it to people. It's the nicest smell, and it's really great. My FedEx, like the FedEx driver has one, so
I love that. Sweet. So yeah, so folks, you can find both of us online all the time, and then come and see us in person. This is going to be super fun. That will be from August 11th is when the workshops are happening, and then 12th to 14th is the marketplace. So come find us both, and maybe you'll catch us having a drink after the fact as well, because we're definitely going to need to do that post work. Thank you so much for being here, my love. I'll let you get back to work, and I'll see you very soon, which is so exciting.
yes. So be well, and hi to everybody that joined us who's there. And I mean, I don't know that they're still there, but I saw Mathilde, I saw Amelia Carvalho. So hi to everybody, and Cathy Lemay. So all of that. So if you're there, I say hi. Hey, Willow. Great. So have a great rest of the day.
Thanks, my love. You too. Bye, everyone.